Have fun.
We're all tied up, and this first set is dead even.
Unbelievable combination.
Wow.
Beautifully done.
What a great spot. Hello and welcome to the 2025-26 APTA Tour. We're live from the Larendale Club in Townsend, Maryland, bringing you the 2025 Baltimore Open with live streaming brought to you by the APTA membership and our tour presenting sponsor, Corient. Tournament support has also been provided by the following local sponsors: T. Rowe Price, Stiefel, Cushman & Wakefield, Charlene's Houses, MDP Insurance, Xenon Paddle, Ripple Branding, M4 Paddle, SCM, Skill Capital Management, Baltimore Paddle, Larendale Club, Willpower PT, and the Seed School of Maryland. I'm Patty Hogan along with Dave Broderick, bringing you women's semifinal action between our tournament number 1 seeded team, B. Lopez and Taya Page, and our tournament number 3 seeded team of Macy Elliott and Lisa Lalic. Our umpire for this match is Jack Taylor. Welcome, Dave.
Thank you, Patty. We have Jack Taylor announcing the players, so let's listen in.
As you can see, Lalic is plays out of the Essex Sun Club in Morristown, New Jersey. Macy Elliott, Rolling Hills Country Club pro. The Lopez no longer at the Orange Lawn Tennis Club, but a friend of the Orange Lawn Tennis Club for sure. And Fox Meadow Tennis Club has the benefit of having Page as Taya Page as their pro.
Patty, and just to let everybody know out there that this will be best 2 out of 3 sets with regular scoring, unlike the men's matches where they're trying this year the no-ad scoring system. This will be regular scoring, 2 out of 3 sets.
Dave, let's take a look at the draw.
Perfect, I'd love to. I think, Patty, if we look at this semifinal matchup, neither team has really been tested. Lopez and Page made it through, pretty handily, as did Elliott and Lalic. No surprises, no extra sets. So both teams should be well rested and ready to play. I don't know about you, but, I think this is going to be a good, long, high-quality match, I think, from start to finish.
I think it's going to be great. Right there, you see Curtis Granger. Welcome back, Jade Curtis to action, and welcome back, Spencer Granger. Spencer's a new mom. Shout out, hey, Mitch. I know Mitch is watching. Mitch Granger is going to be joining us in the announcing booth this year, Dave. But it was good to see those two pair up. But they came across, the buzzsaw of Lopez Page and went down 6-3, 6-0. But great to have them back in action, and be curious to see, in the ever-changing circle of women's paddle, men's paddle, and the ever-changing partners, Dave, what's going to stick this season. We have some unknowns. Starting with the top, our country's number 1 team of Elliott and Burris are taking a break as a team. Burris is taking a break to start the season. So Macy Elliott's going to jump in with some different players, and she loves Lalic's game here, and Lalic is just, offense, defense, off everything, you name it. She's got it.
Yeah, and again, I think this is good. Again, a high-quality match. But I think, I think you're going to see a lot of explosiveness. All 4 players have big ground strokes, so it's going to be interesting to see that. I think it's just going to come down to whichever team gives the other team more opportunities. I think that might make the difference.
Dave, what did you say would make the difference?
The team that gets the most opportunities to apply pressure to the other team.
What I was saying, and then I faded out there for a second. I'm not sure you were able to hear me, but like Lalic. We haven't seen her as much. She's a new mom 2 years ago as well. She's got a wingspan of a 747. I mean, just has that two-handed backhand, Dave, that covers so much range that I don't know where the safe spots are going to be for Lopez and Page. It's going to be curious when they're the net team. I think that will be fascinating for us to see how that will unfold. And I also think with Elliott, we have Macy Elliott, four-time national champ. She's back in the ad court. She won her first national title with Marcela Renezzo in the ad court. She won 3 in a row with Lynn Burrs playing the deuce court. And with Lalic, their matchup, they think they're going to come out strongest with Macy Elliott in that ad court, Dave.
Yeah, and she definitely has played there before. She's been successful, so, it's not going to feel uncomfortable to her. And, to your point earlier as to, if you're Lopez and Page when you're at the net, where do you want to hit the ball? I think, especially if they're feeling a little bit of pressure on maybe some deeper overheads or deeper lobs, I think they're really going to have to keep the ball in an area probably straighter so that they can cover the next shot. I think if they try to go and put the ball into corners and they don't really get it to screens, that could play into the hands of Elliott and Lalic.
So, Dave, when you say playing more shots, kind of like boring straight ahead, that limits the amount of court as they have to defend on the next ball. They don't
Correct.
need to shift. And
Correct.
I think that's a great point that, Lopez and Page, they're so fast. They have great footwork. They have great racket skills. But I think that going straight will benefit them for that reason, what we talked about. But I also think when you're playing someone like a Lalic, I've watched her play a couple of matches. She's got this monster reach on either side. I remember back in high school tennis learning, hey, when you have someone who has all that wingspan, hit the ball right at them and make them create some, create footwork to get a forehand or a backhand.
Right.
Do you agree with that point, Dave?
I do. If you aim right at someone, you're forcing them to create space where, when you're moving to the ball, the space is already there for you. You just have to close it a little bit. So, I think the straight ahead play could end up being beneficial when Lopez and Page are at the net. And also, again, I think when you keep the ball straighter, when you don't have the ability to put it into a side screen or a corner, it limits where the baseline player can really hit the ball too.
So both our women's semifinals are going on. Our men's quarterfinals, I think, are still finishing up, Dave. And we're off here. It looks like our server, you heard it from Jack Taylor. Lalic or Lalic to serve, whichever way you want to say it. Are you surprised she's serving first?
No, I'm not. A little bit of a surprising start, but
Just laid off that, stayed back, make sure she put the ball in play. Holy cow, Dave.
that was an incredible
Great
point. I think Macy Elliott went for a little bit too much there from far off the net.
But what a great point. You saw the four
Really good
women.
point,
They're
yeah.
the athleticism. Just get ready. This is going to be like July 4th fireworks, this match. So Lalic and Elliott, don't you feel like they need to settle down a little bit, Dave, right here? This is a shaky first game.
Yeah, I mean, it started with a couple of faults, so, but, you know, the points that have started are, you know, they've been exciting so far early on.
So, Dave, that's Taya Page in the deuce court far side? Or is that B. Lopez? It's B. Lopez. I was only kidding. So B is in the deuce court far side. That's Taya Page in far court in the ad court. Macy Elliott in the bright pink. In her Made for Paddle t-shirt, one of our tournament sponsors. And Lisa Lalic, black and white outfit from the back on the right side of our screen.
Pat, I thought that was a really good, to your point earlier about settling in point for Lalic and Elliott. You know, that was very patient. They were pretty methodical about where they were hitting the ball. And, you know, they definitely had a plan on that point.
You know, I think, Dave, both teams that we're watching here right now have a chance. If they were to play, I'm not saying Elliott and Lalic are our team. We know Page and Lopez are our team for the most part. I think either of these teams could win a national title. If the Nationals were next weekend and these two teams were playing, that's how good both of these teams are.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, you know, we said it from the beginning that this is going to be a good match, you know, when you look at all the players and all their success that they've had. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Lopez and Page won Montclair, first event of the year. They beat Alexander and Lalic in the finals of that match. So, you know, Lalic hasn't played a ton of tournaments. You know, we mentioned she's a new mom 2.5 years ago, I think. And so it's great to see her out here. And, you know, if we can get her as a full-time tour player, it'd be phenomenal for the women's game. And Lopez and Page just provided such a breath of fresh air for the women's tour last season, and then became one of our tour's dominant teams. Who's going to be our surprise team this year, Dave?
Yeah, it's interesting to see. And to your point, you know, if Lalic were to play more, that would be good for the tour. I mean, whenever you're adding players that, you know, come in and they make an impact right at the top of the game, that's always a positive for the tour and for the events.
Yeah, Lopez Page came on the scene last year, Dave. They played in 7 finals, as you know, and they won 3 events. Finished and had that epic win over Hannah Stabori in the 3-setter semifinals at Nationals at Philly Cricket Club, one of the most memorable matches, I think, of all time at Nationals.
Patty, we're seeing here where Elliott and Lalic are really testing Lopez out in that deuce side of the court up there on the top left of your screen. They're really hitting a lot of balls to her. And, you know, I think one of the important things like we talked about earlier, just in general with net play, by them keeping the ball on one side of the court, it's really limiting their movement at the net. And that's going to come down to, you know, I think a big difference at the end where we know, you know, when you're playing the net, you don't want to be moving around. It creates too many opportunities for the baseline players.
As you can see, Elliott and Lalic are, you know, have switch courts on the baseline, and no real rush to go back. I think they're loving that they're showing different looks than Lopez and Page, I think, early in this match.
Patty, long first game in this match between Lopez, Page, Elliott, Lalic. I think it's kind of what we're in to see. I think we're going to see a bunch of different, longer matches, long games, long points. We have a update and a score in one of the men's quarterfinal matches. Grigorovich Stojic taking down Dabic and Pardo de Andrade. So they will move on in the semifinals to face Regalado Salazar.
Yeah, Grigorovich and Stojic are tournament number 3 seeds, and Dabic and Pardo, they are a phenomenal team. Made the semis of Montclair last weekend. But Grigorovich and Stojic, I mean, they're an amazing team. Who you talk about new teams on the tour, Dave. 2 years ago, we never even mentioned their names, and now they're in the conversation every tournament they're in.
15 love.
Dave, with the firepower all 4 women have, there's potential to have a decent amount of break of serves in this match.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's going to start right off the bat with the return of serve.
Yeah, Lalic got broken in that first game, and I'm just saying, I think it's going to happen a lot in this match.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think part of it, to add to it is, to your point, with all the firepower, I think it's going to put extra pressure on the server to feel like they have to do more with their serve, as we saw in the first game. Lalic faulting a couple of times to start that game.
Dave, did you notice who was carrying that ladder on the sidelines there? Did you catch a glimpse of the one and only Jackie Cameron? Our tour director. We see Broderick Christian just went down 2-2 to Bentheim Burris in other men's quarterfinal action. But Jackie Cameron is our tour director, handles a ton of the events around the country, mostly in the Northeast now with Cindy Haber, and she's out there doing everything. The tour doesn't function without Jackie Cameron. Bentheim and Burris, Dave. No offense to Drew, but that's a pretty solid win, and it didn't seem like it took 4 hours either.
Yeah, no, they're a solid team. Sven is a national champion, and Russell is a up-and-coming star on the APTA tour these days.
Current mixed nationals, husband-wife national champion.
Absolutely, with Izzy, yeah.
Dave, in this match, I always think the team who I would pick to win if I had to bet money, and I'm not a bettor, would be Lopez Page. But you have Elliott over there, 4-time national champ. When someone's got national champ on their resume, like Mr. Sven Burst, in the finals 2 years in a row with Mick Erdoya, 1-time finals, 1-time winner. I mean, that says a lot about what that player is capable of, and that's what makes this kind of extraordinary. I give the early nod to Lopez Page, only because they've ironed out a lot of kinks, I think, over the course of last season, and got themselves in a position for a national title last year, and I think they're coming out this year even hungrier, Dave.
Yeah, no, and that's a good point, Patty, that, the players that are winning national championships, national titles, one of the things that separates them and makes it a big difference is they've been there in the big matches. They've been in the big stage. They know how to play the big points. They don't feel the pressure. So it's not a surprise when you have current, former national champions, and they're still playing well.
And I think the reason why Macy Elliott, kind of in the conversation of one of the game's greatest players of all time, 4 national title wins already, and she's a youngster, says a lot about just how she addresses the game. And I think she is so rock solid. And I think that, it's that old pressure. It's, pressure is a privilege. And she loves the privilege of competing. And that's how she goes about herself and handles herself like a true professional every moment she's out here on the court. And that's why I have so much respect for her game. But I think it's just like you get excited and she can't wait for the opportunity to go prove it again and again. She doesn't take anything for granted when she plays the game. And I think that's, she's able to keep herself so mentally engaged in every single point that she plays.
Yeah, no, technically she's super sound. She's super solid from the baseline, from the net. Yeah, no, she's an all-around great player. And, it's not by accident she's a 4-time national champion.
And she's a fun gal, Dave, too. She's earned her successes, and she's a great woman. And Rolling Hill Country Club, so happy to have her leading the way up there. And she's running her tour event for the second time, again, right after the new year, Dave. Proved to be a really fun addition to the APTA schedule right after. I think it's January 3rd and 4th this year, and she'll be running the show up there out of Rolling Hills.
All right, so if you have that weekend available, look to sign up for that event.
Elliott, Lalic, tied, 1 game off, first set.
Tell you what,
Okay.
Patty, so far I really like the game plan of Elliott and Lalic right now from the baseline and the net. Like I said, I think they have they definitely have a game plan intact here.
And you're saying they have a game plan intact when they are the net.
To me, I see a game plan from the baseline, and I see a game plan when they're at the net.
Okay,
I think they have a good plan, a good strategy, and they obviously still have to execute it.
Can you
Sure.
explain it, Dave? Because
So,
I would love for the audience at home to see battle for Dave Broderick's eye.
So I think if we've noticed early on that they are playing a lot more balls to B. Lopez in the forehand side. They're kind of, as the old announcer's curse there. I think they're really keeping it to one side of the court as much as they can. They're limiting their movement when they're at the net, so it's making it, it's going to wear on Lopez and Page in the long run. And then when they're on the baseline, I just see how they're, pounding the middle of the court with all of their shots, and it really paid off in that last return of serve game.
What I'll be curious about, Dave, is if they overplay Lopez and 4 shots over there, I think it could free up Page a lot. And I think they're avoiding Page essentially at this point.
Right.
Where I think it would serve them well to, go after Lopez for what, 3 overheads. And then when they see Page kind of sneaking out, keep her honest in her corner. Because I think Page can hurt him a ton if you don't keep her honest in that ad-court corner.
Yeah, you certainly don't want to let her roaming around back there. You have to at least make her think there's an opportunity or a chance that they're going to be hitting overheads to her. As you see how far she's moving over right now on the baseline.
Yeah. Dave, who's going to be the first player to hold serve in this match?
I'm going to pick Lalic in the next service game.
Okay. We're not going to get a hold in this game right now, Dave?
I think the trend's going to keep going.
Okay. And in this, it's still warm weather here early.
Yep.
Are we, in the middle of fall, and that ball's sitting up, and All of these women are high ball strikers, so that ball just is sitting there for them to tee off. And they all can crush. I mean, I talked about Lalic when we came on air about her wingspan and her two-handed backhand, but every one of these women can pull the trigger, forehand or a backhand, and pounce on any ball. Dave, B. Lopez is going to hold serve.
Well, that was a very good start, winning the first point.
Yeah, Elliott lost the first 3 points in her serving game. Lalic lost the first 2. Tough to hold serve when you go dig that early hole.
So one thing, Patty, early on that I'm going to give my thoughts on the returns is that I think in order for Elliott and Lalic to keep breaking serve and putting pressure on Lopez and Pejic, I think Elliott in the backhand side is going to have to start looking to drive more returns to serve. We've watched her lob quite a few to start the point, which is good. I mean, it starts the point, it gets the point going, but I think she's going to have to start looking to drive a few more if she wants to get some easy mistakes or put pressure on Lopez and Pejic.
It's a good point, Dave. We'll look for that.
See, that was a really good overhead there by Pejic, hitting it straight back at Macy Elliott, not really giving her any room to hit to. You know, and I think if you're Elliott, you have to kind of recognize that and just drive it to let them volley it.
Yeah, she had the player straight ahead of her, way off the net. And there was an opening in the middle there and just an off-speed kind of drive rather than going full out. What a close from Lalic right there on that volley.
Get there by B. Lopez.
Yep. I love that roller Lalic just hit, Dave. Did you see how long she waited to hit it?
Yeah, and it was well placed. She kind of gave it off speed, held it a little bit. Pejic didn't really, had to wait to the last second to react to that overhead by Lalic.
Okay, when she held it, what do you mean, Dave?
She waited. She didn't rush the shot. She didn't overhit it. She
let it get
kinda
really
took her time.
low.
She let it get low. She let it come to her.
Her contact point was what? Shoulder high? Maybe
Probably
even
shoulder
lower.
high, maybe a little bit lower.
Right. So I think that's the key for those of you at home trying to work on that shot. And she let it get down there and took a lot off the ball, which made it a more difficult ball to get him back in play, actually. And I like that Lalic mixes up the speeds of her shot when she's hitting those overheads.
Right.
Sometimes I kind of feel like Pejic and Lopez kind of fire and you hear the same sound over and over and over, where I would love a different sound too. That might have been way too much of a sound and gave Lalic a great look. Come way out after that ball. We have a real fun transition point here.
What a close there by Lalic. Really recognizing that was going to be a drive and closing the net.
Does it help that she's 6 feet tall, Dave, that she can close the net like that?
It certainly does.
Uh-oh. I think I could get proved to be a liar, Dave. Great point again. Lopez, I thought she would hold.
No, I think this game might be far from over.
Oh, I know.
What a move there by
Wow.
Lalic.
Elliott, Lalic, tied 2 games all, first set.
All right,
Patty,
Dave.
if I get this right, people are going to think that we're showing them a taped match.
Exactly. We got that 20-second delay going. Well, Dave, this is exactly what I expected, that this thing would be neck and neck. I felt that, slight edge to Lopez Pejic, having played all together all last year, but Lalic is a freak of nature, talented woman, and you have Macy Elliott, 4-time national champ, and you put those two together and fireworks. Oh my lord, what a great shot off the back screen, Dave.
Yeah, that wasn't an easy backhand by any stretch of the imagination.
Dave, I don't ever think I've seen you hit that shot.
No. I lost a step over the last couple of years, Patty.
Yeah, she only needs 3 steps back and she covers it.
Patty, who do you think the longer points favors in this match?
I think Lopez Page. Am I right or wrong?
I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. That's why I was asking. Usually my
Yeah.
questions I know the answer to when I ask, but I'm trying to. That was an honest question.
Well, I feel like Lalic is like right now. Isn't she the most explosive player of the 4 on the court, Dave?
She is.
And she's made some quick strikes, and that's why I was thinking: is Dave asking me a question that he knows the answer to, or it's a trick question?
You know, I mean, that last game alone you watched out there where, you know, Lalic she did a lot of the damage in that last game to tie it up at 2-all.
Yeah, you know, I felt that they needed to settle down, and I am marveling at Lalic's play at this point. I think it's a really, really, really high level to start this match, and she seems totally comfortable.
And I think, Patty, you know, we've had 4 breaks of serve to start this match, but, you know, every one of the 4 games has been competitive, high quality, exciting.
Dave, when we got this match, we saw our schedule. We were pretty pumped about this one.
No, and I think this is good for everybody that's out there watching that, you know, when we're coaching and we talk about how important it is to keep the ball in play. These women are keeping a lot of balls in play, but they're going for their shots. They're taking their swings. They're just not doing anything silly.
You know, Paige and Lopez can go through people, but I think the defensive abilities, court coverage of Lalic and Elliott, they can't go through them. So I think they have to go into this with the mindset that every point is going to be a war.
Right.
And I think when they do that, they'll be okay in this match. Oh, I love the idea.
15-40.
2 break points against your pick, Dave, to hold serve.
Oh, well.
Game, Lopez Page. Lopez Page lead 3 games to 2 in the first set.
Corian is excited to partner with the APTA because, whether as advisors to our members or as members themselves, they are already part of the APTA community. Learn more at www.corient.com, the official wealth sponsor of the APTA.
Dave, beautiful afternoon at the Larndale Club in Townsend, Maryland. Stan Byram and Mike Cochran, who is the director of rackets here at Larndale, have put together another phenomenal event. You know, most of our games' top players are here fighting it out for over a grueling day. Starts at 8 o'clock, probably will end tonight about 9 or 10 o'clock.
Ooh, don't say that.
Well, oh, that's
Don't say
right.
that.
You and Guy Moore will be on the call late in the day. You may have to set the alarm, Dave, after your nap. Get ready for that one. All right, so Dave, I'm glad that at least my early call that I thought we would have a lot of breaks has held up.
No, it certainly has.
Love 15.
And it's interesting, Patty, because I think we're getting the breaks of serves for two different reasons. I think Lalic and Elliott are playing really solid at the baseline. They're doing a really good job of mixing in their lobs and their drives and creating movement. But then on the other side is, I think Lopez and Page are they're taking advantage of some serving miscues by Elliott and Lalic.
15 off.
Good combination of overheads, Dave. How important is the roller to the game in women's paddle for these top players?
It's become a huge part of the game. All the top women and men seem to be hitting it. It's a tough shot because we're seeing it where they're hitting it harder at the player's body, forcing them to have to get out of the way and then chase the ball down. And then even when they do chase it down, it still has spin on it, and it's low. It's below the level of the net.
Sure, and you could see right there the power and the spin from Page broke down Lalic on that shot, hitting that really heavy roller. And that roller stayed so low, Dave.
And then when it hit Lalic's paddle, it just stuck to her paddle.
And that's where, Macy's going after that. She doesn't need to hit that hard. She definitely had the right shot, but I think she had some open court, and she's got to recognize that.
And I think that was one of the first kind of rushed shots by Elliott and Lalic.
Lopez Page lead 4 games to 2 in the first set.
Dave, did we have a hold of serve?
We did that, and that was kind of the first
Game
That
number
was-
6. The first
That was
hold.
probably the shortest game of the match.
Remember when I said I felt that Elliott and Lalic had to kind of settle down, and then I felt that Lalic did settle down, and then I thought Elliott was settling down? I still feel like she's a little bit off, slightly. I think she's still getting used to playing with Lalic up, I think that Lalic has so many weapons, it's hard not to think about, let me just keep the ball in play, and then get some opportunities, overjuice that ball, because Lalic just can juice a ball, and I think Elliott's got to remember she doesn't need to match the pace that Lalic gets naturally. If that makes sense, Dave. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely. It is hard when you sort of have a little bit of a defensive mindset and then try to create offense.
I mean, this is a treat day. This is a super high level paddle match these women are playing. Every one of them.
A little bit of bad luck there for B. Lopez with the let cord, forcing the drive to go out.
Dave Morgan and Sakura won the first set of their semifinal match over Buchanan and Mihalovic 6-3, and they're up 1-love in the second set.
Patty, another team year in and year out, Morgan and Sakura, that are, you always hear their name.
Oh, yeah. They are one of our games. Great teams, great women, so much fun. They bring so much to the table. And they're looking for a berth in the finals here. Women's finals will be played today at 5 o'clock against the winner of this semifinal match.
I like that swing there by Lalic. I think she had the opening. She had some room to hit that ball down the middle of the court, maybe catch him shifting a little bit. I like that shot.
I like what I just heard from Lopez. You hear her say, one at a time, one at a time?
Yep.
I think that's crucial for all of these ball players. Stay in the moment, stay in every single shot. And I think they've just got to have that mindset that every point is a war.
Game, Elliott, Lalic. Lopez Page lead 6-3 in the first set.
And Patty, just to kind of to your point that you've said in the past, where scoreboard pressure in platform tennis, I think, is more influential than any other sport. And what I mean by that is, it's almost like 40 love. There's really not a lot of pressure. You lose a point, now it's 40-15, and all of a sudden the pressure gets a lot more, even just from the 1 point. And now if it's 40-30, so I think we know the momentum in platform tennis and how quickly it changes. And when you're playing a match, whether you're winning, losing by a lot, by a little, I think every game having scoreboard pressure is important. It could it can really help you out.
Yeah. So first 5 games, break of serve, and now we've had back-to-back hold serve.
Yeah. We've
got B. Lopez serving up 4-3. First set, semifinal action from the Baltimore Open in beautiful Larendale Club, Townsend, Maryland. I'm Patty Hogan, along with Ray Broderick. Let's say Lopez in that ball. B. Lopez has the pink sneakers on. Pejic has the tank top. Macy Elliott in the bright pink top. And in the deuce court near side, Lisa Lalic. You hear that communication? Constant chatter. Hit it. Yep. And they agree so that they don't have to rush themselves. You see very early on, the moment there's a lob between the two of Pejic and Lopez, it's crystal clear that the player to the left of the two, as they're standing side by side, will take that lob.
Yeah, and I think, Patty, for everyone out there watching, I think that's one thing, everybody likes to watch the high-level players play, and they tell you about things that they do. But I think one of the areas where a lot of the people watching should focus on or pay a little bit more attention to is the communication that all the top teams have when they're at the net and the baseline. A little bit of forced overhead there by B. Lopez.
Hey, Dave, you're not going to believe who's in the chat room, the one and only Griffin Kramer. Hey, Griffin. Dave, he says, do you think these women are playing to set up their own weapons or to avoid their opponent's weapons? Great question, Griff. We're going to put it to Coach Dave.
I'm sorry, Patty, can you say that again? There was a little bit of screen noise when you were asking that question.
Griffin Kramer's asking, do you think these women are playing to set up their own weapons or to avoid their opponent's weapons?
Well, I think it depends. When obviously, when the team's at the net, I think they're playing to avoid the baseline team's weapons. And I think when you're playing from the baseline, you're trying to set your own weapons up. So, you look at that right there, and Pejic lobs down the line because she's either trying to get a ball coming back to her forehand or forcing it all the way cross court to Lopez's forehand. And those are going to be the sweet spots for them. So I think it depends. I think for all levels of play, when you're at the net, it's harder to create offense and attacking. So you are spending more time keeping the ball away from your opponent's weapons, where when you're playing on the baseline, you're trying to set up your strengths and your weapons.
Great answer. Dave, I've been called out by someone in the chat room that when Macy won her nationals with Rodesno, she was playing in the deuce court, not the active. And that person is right. I just want to really see if everybody's playing a bit. It's good to have fact checkers out there, Dave.
There you go.
I think Griffin's question is a phenomenal question, Dave, because at the highest level, they do both at the same time. I think in most club level, you can avoid weapons. But at this level, you can't because there's weapons on both the forehand and the back.
Right, I think you just
Page. Lopez Page lead 5 games to 3 in the first set.
I think at the highest level, to your point that everyone has weapons, multiple weapons. When you're at the net, you really have to try to hit shots that are going to contain their weapons. You know, like we talked about before, how you don't want to hit shots that are going to open the court up more for the baseline team than, you know, than they already have. We've seen Macy have a lot of swings at that backside backhand drive opportunity, and she's a little bit off. She's been a little bit off on them so far.
And I think they want her to hit the shot. They're clearly giving her that, and they want her to pull the trigger. And I think she's just got to think less safe on that in that situation. All right, 3-set points here for Pejic and Lopez. I love that two-handed roller, Dave. Unfortunately, so did Dean Lopez.
Yeah.
So we'll be right back in just a moment after these messages right here on the APTA YouTube channel with live streaming brought to you by Streambox Labs and match statistics provided by Court Director.
At Corient, wealth management begins and ends with you. We believe the more personal the solution, the more powerful the result. We treat your goals as our own. We never lose focus on the life you want to build. And our experienced advisors design custom-built strategies to help you get there. It's time for a wealth management experience as sophisticated as you are. It's time for Corient.
Investment opportunities are everywhere you turn. Do you charge forward? Freeze in your tracks? Or let curiosity light the way? At T. Rowe Price, we're asking smart questions about opportunities like AI and how the industry's born to support AI might better support us all. Better questions, better outcomes. T. Rowe Price.
Welcome back to the APTA Tour. I'm Patty Hogan along with Dave Broderick, bringing you women's semifinal action from the Larendale Club in Townsend, Maryland. We got the semifinal matchup between our tournament number 1 seed Lopez and Page up against Elliott and Lalic. Dave, what do you take from this first match summary?
First set was really good. I mean, again, if you look at the points here, total points won for Lopez and Page were 61%. But I think the big difference was, you know, they won 57% of the points that they served. And as we all know, it is much harder in platform tennis to hold serve than it is to break serve. So anytime you have high numbers on points won serving, it's going to pay dividends for you.
All right, and we have to thank those statistics are brought to us by Court Director. We've got all the umpires have their iPads up there for scorekeeping. It auto generates into our streaming, so Tom Ford is doing a phenomenal job of keeping everybody abreast of the score at all times and just really professionalizing the streaming effort. And I love seeing those match stats because stats don't lie, Dave.
No, they certainly don't. You know, and I think in a game like platform tennis, percentages and probabilities, you know, tells the story.
Dave, real fast, I want to go back to one thing in the first set. Breaks of serve. You know, the break of serve was huge in that first set.
Yeah.
And you see Elliott Lalic did break, the 2 times they had the opportunity, they did execute. But I feel like Lopez and Page are just getting a few more opportunities, Dave, in this match. I don't know, I feel like the baseline play of Elliott and Lalic needs to be cleaned up a little bit.
I agree. I think they've had some opportunities that they didn't capitalize on early on and even later in that set. But, they're getting out here to a good start. Up love 40 in the first game of the second set. And, like I said, I think earlier, if Elliott and Lalic can kind of stick to their game plan that they started out with, I think they can still win the second set and come back, and we'll see what happens.
Do you like Elliott and Lalic better at the net or better at the baseline so far in this match, Dave?
Honestly, I think from the first set, I liked them a lot on the baseline. Quite honestly, I thought they were playing well. When they were at the net towards the middle to end of the first set, I thought they were trying to play fast, and I think that's going to play into the hands of Lopez and Page. Like I said, from watching this match, I just feel that the more methodical Elliott and Lalic can play, the better off it's going to be for them. I think Lopez and Page like the movement. I think they like the fast-paced play. Where I think the slower-paced play is going to favor Elliott and Lalic in the long run.
In between sets, Dave, you mentioned that you expected Elliott and Lalic to come out tiring and just be a little bit calmer in the second set, and you wouldn't be surprised if this becomes a 3-setter.
No, not at all, because, they're a seasoned veteran team. They've very experienced players. As I talked about it earlier on, I think that's been a little bit of a hiccup in their game is some faults when Elliott and Lalic are serving. So, if they can clean that up here on the fly, I think, it's going to make winning this set a little bit easier for them.
15-30.
Just kind of totally decelerated on that swing.
Patty, would you ever think about here maybe even just having Macy Elliott stay back on the baseline and serving underhand?
I think, or just pull Macy back and just, push the ball in the box.
Because again, I think Lalic and Elliott are doing a really good job from the baseline, but they've got to figure out a way to start points.
Little discussion. I think Elliott Lodge called the ball out.
No, I think what they were saying is one of the shots that Elliott hit may have hit the side screen and then went back over the net. The chair umpire, Jack Taylor, all over it, said he did not see that.
Yep. Wow. I'm surprised that she drilled that ball. She gave Lalic that look on her two-hander. Yeah. But I think that's kind of the approach of Page a little bit. She's willing to take you on at your strength, your best shot. She wants to prove to you that she can defend your best shot a little bit. think that, and Lalic, I mean, I love her two-handed backhand. She just didn't make it there. 1-all. Second set, semifinal action from the Baltimore Open. And Dave, we don't know if we'll see more of Elliott, and Lalic as the season continues. But again, they have so many weapons from so many places on the court, and the fact that they can play both sides, each of them, holy cow, tremendous potential.
And I think the more time they spend on the court together, the better they're going to get as well as a team.
I love the footwork on the far side with Lopez and Payne. You can see those two are dancing the whole time. I know they like to dance when they're not on the paddle court. And you can see they definitely, are constantly in motion. It's like the screen here to learn their club. But I think their footwork is exceptional. And I think that's what they create so many looks for themselves. I think it's really easy when you play paddle to kind of start watching your partner and stand flat-footed. But you can see they're both expecting that every ball could be hit to them, so they're really using their little steps and setup steps just in case they are to have to strike the ball. Dave, after the conclusion of this, next up on the APTA Tour, after Halloween, and you get your awesome outfit together, Dave, we'll be out in Chicago for the first Grand Prix of the year, November 7th, 8th, and 9th, and then followed by the Cleveland event.
15-all.
Patty, Chicago Charity is always a fun stop on the tour.
Great event held every fall. Always one of the strongest tournaments of the year. And speaking of Grand Prix, Dave, we've got 5. We usually have 4. How come we have 5 this year?
The game is growing. More people are playing. Get more people involved. The top players, all the tournament players are coming out in full force. So it's, another opportunity to let everyone showcase their talents.
Yep, and as the game has grown, Dave, and prize money has come into it, there have been places around the country that you take, for example, this Baltimore event wasn't on the calendar 2 years ago. How do you get all these great players to go? Lure all the top players with prize money. That's what these guys are doing. We have so many local sponsors who are just bringing us high-level action every weekend. That it's just phenomenal. And so when the APTA gets to decide who's going to be a Grand Prix, lots of tournaments want to be Grand Prix, and you have to prove it. And so many of these tournaments, like the Short Hills Club, Dave, you ran it for 20 straight years. They do a phenomenal job. How do you not make them a Grand Prix? So because of situations like that and others, you want, it's the more the better. So I think the APTA going to 5 Grand Prix is a phenomenal move for this season.
Yeah, no, and it shows you the growth in the game and where the game is headed. So it's a testament to the commitment that all the players, the clubs, and the sponsors are making to make this, an even better tour year in and year out. Little miscommunication there between Page and Lopez.
2 games to 1 in the second set. Lopez Page won the first set 6 games to 3.
So Dave, you predicted a turnaround here, and or just a settling down. Elliott, Lalic looked totally comfortable. Now you kind of feel like this match is a pick'em. I think.
Yeah, and again, we talked about it a little bit where I thought the first set was a good quality first set. Maybe Elliott and Lalic just made a couple more mistakes was the difference, and not capitalizing on a few, opportunities they had. But they're coming out strong here. They've tightened things up a little bit in the first couple of games. So, it's not going to be a surprise to me if they were to win this second set.
Dave, your buddy Karen Gentner from Glens Falls Country Club, Queensbury, New York, is enjoying listening to you and all your explanations about the match.
Patty, that's why I do it, to enlighten the fans out there.
Must be tough, Dave. You got a big fan club.
That's why I have to talk a lot during these live streams.
You know, Dave, the only question mark I have in my head about about Elliott and Lalic is their serving. I think that's the only thing that's a little suspect. And I think because of that, you know, their confidence seems to be going up and down a little bit. And like the first point of this game, Macy went big time and hit a really good serve and got the error from Lopez. So I think this is that bodes well for Lalic and Elliott. Dave, who's standing on the sideline right there? Recognize
I cannot tell.
guy? Is that Sam Byram?
It could be.
Tournament director. Had a vision for this event, wanted to really bring the highest level of paddle to the Baltimore community, and he has successfully done that. Put in a ton of work, you know, really calling up every player. Please, I give you an open invitation. Come down to our event. He's done a wonderful job of really attracting the top players in the Baltimore area.
Patty, the Baltimore area has become a hotbed of paddle in a pretty short period of time. You know, they, like you said, you know, Sam had a vision of a lot of people were getting more involved with playing, and you know, he kind of ran with it, and it's turning out to that he was right. Patty, we see here that Morgan and Sakura won their semifinal match and will be headed to the finals to take on the winner of the match that we're watching here with a 6-3, 6-2, 6-3, 6-3 victory over Bukian and Mihalovic.
Yeah, nice tournament for Bukian and Mihalovic to get into the semis here. Strong showing for them. Bukian, a former assistant of Drew Broderick over at Canoebrook Country Club in Summit, New Jersey. But Dave, you know, you talked about Sam and what he's done to bring the best players to Baltimore. I'm going to put you on the line, Dave. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Name the Hall of Famer who helped put the Larendale Club on the map, who ended up being a former president of the APTA. And another clue is he's the guy who had the vision a trillion years ago to said, we need a website. We need to have a presence. The APTA didn't have it. Just one small organization on paper and pencil. Who did all that for the sport of platform tennis? Dave, do you know that guy?
Patty, I think I do. I'm gonna take a wild guess here, but I think it is John Harine.
Nice, Dave. All those clues help you, or my text?
No, they definitely, the clues help when you threw in former president and website. I know.
Yeah, I remember. I mean, this is way back. We go way back in the game before, and people are like, before there was a website, are you kidding me? But he helped really start the first steps of the APTA becoming a more professional organization and how they presented themselves, thanks to that website.
Elliott leads 3-1 in the second set.
So again, a second return of serve error from Lopez out of that corner. Better serving from Elliott. That's why I'm saying the only question mark about them is their serving, and I like that Elliott's going for it, and they're up 3-1. Second set, semifinal action, Baltimore Open.
Patty, I also, something to think about is, you know, in the first set, Elliott and Lalic, they served first, they were broken, and they were always kind of playing from behind in that first set, where now they're ahead. So let's see if that has anything to do or changes the dynamic of this set, because now they're playing from ahead.
So, Coach Dave, Griffin has another question for you. He says, do you think the backcourt team should be increasing their drive variety, speed, placement, height over the net? He feels like a lot of them are just like maybe hit all flat. What do you think about that, Dave? Or flatter, or not so much flat?
No, I think that's a really good question. I want to know where Griffin's getting all these good questions from. Is somebody feeding him these questions? But no, seriously, that's a great question. And obviously, you know, when you watch Major League Baseball, the pitcher can't just keep throwing fastballs because eventually you're going to catch up to it. And I think it's the same in paddle, where you can't just keep hitting your drives at the same speed over and over and over with the same amount of spin. So, you know, I definitely think changing the speed of the drive, changing the height of it, changing the spin, I think those are all great options to, you know, maybe you get your opponent at the net reaching too much for the ball or not expecting the ball come as fast to you. So, no, I definitely think he's onto something. You know, I just from my own experience, you know, Drew's even a big believer of, you know, changing the height of your lobs. You know, don't just hit every lob high and deep. You know, change it up just to give the other team another look and maybe, you know, take away certain shots that they could potentially hit.
I always think as a volleyer, Dave, when you form your wall at the net of the volley, when you play against a team and they hit the same drive, the same, like the amount, you know, they both hit 50-mile-an-hour drives, you can get into a tempo on your volleys. I always found it a little more difficult to volley well if my opponent hit the ball at different pace. So maybe that's what Griffin's alluding to.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, exactly. You just, you know, you kind of get used to the same speed over and over and over, and then at some point it just doesn't become effective.
Right, but it only happens at the top with the best in the sport.
Right. Well, again, Patty, you know, the higher we go in the tournaments, or the further we go into tournaments, the less you get away with. You know, when you're playing the top level players, you don't get away as much as, you know, with sort of the middle or bottom of the pack.
And what I mean by these top players, Dave, they have no, you know, there's very few weaknesses. And, you know, so it's not like you can go and attack something. And, you know, you just got to maintain such a high level of discipline out here. And I feel like that discipline is really the thing that makes the difference. And just for your consistency, both mentally and teamwork with your partner.
Right, because we see it so often where one team will go for a particular shot, and if it doesn't work out,
holy cow, Dave!
What a
that
get!
Was a get. That was the get of the year for me.
And if the shot doesn't work out, it's almost like you're creating opportunities for the other team, and the better teams take advantage of those opportunities. Wow. Patty, at the end of the set, let's keep that point in mind right there. What an amazing get.
Yeah, that was phenomenal.
I mean, it's a difference of 15-30 and love 40. That's saved by Page.
I like how you can see Lopez set her paddle, even though she hit a forehand volley, Dave. Lightning didn't strike her that time, but you saw she just set her paddle and let the ball rebound off her paddle.
I would have liked to have seen Lalic take that second drive and go down the middle.
Yeah, move it right there. I
Yep.
agree. She had a little opening there.
Good lob there by Macy Elliott.
Dave, all these women played college tennis. SMU, Columbus State for Lopez, University of Nevada for, I think, Page, and Lalic. Pro Tour, Dave. She played some pro tennis. I mean, that's where these women, when you watch them, it's really amazing because their racket skills, because of their tennis background, lend themselves so beautifully to becoming top players in the sport of platform tennis. There are very few top-level platform tennis players who don't have that really high level of a tennis background.
Right. Well, Patty, we talk about it all the time about how, a lot of times the game has been the same for many, many years, but, it is changing as well. It's getting faster, harder, there's more spin involved. So, and a lot of that we can give credit to, the game of tennis players coming in and sort of adding the tennis twist to platform.
Dave, your brother calls you Pickle Dave. Can a high-level pickle player come into the sport of platform tennis and have the success that a high-level tennis player can?
I think it would be harder because, I think when you go from pickleball to paddle, I think the similarities of the strokes with platform tennis and tennis are very similar. Whereas with pickleball, although pickleball is changing, it's as well, but I don't think the technique on the strokes are quite as similarity between platform tennis and tennis.
I think about the key thing, Dave. You and I always preach, good things come to those who wait, and it's a waiting game. You think about volleying and pickle it, it's a total opposite. Where in paddle, you have to wait so long and hold the shot to control it and absorb the pace.
You do, but even again, I think because as more and more people play all of the different sports, I do think, you're starting to get some differences and people start figuring things out. And, even in the game of pickleball these days, my good friend Colin Johns always talks about, waiting longer to let the ball get closer to you when you volley, just because the benefits outweigh the negatives of reaching for the ball. So, again, it's interesting how all the games do sort of influence each other and play a part in getting better and having success in all the different racket sports out there.
So, Dave, we mentioned that the women are playing regular scoring, the men play no ad. Why don't they do the same, Dave?
Game, Lopez, Page. Elliott, Lalic lead 3 games to 2 in the second set. Lopez, Page won the first set, 6 games to 3.
Hey, Patty, I'd like to mention all our local sponsors for helping make the 2025 Baltimore Open an amazing event. We have T. Rowe Price, we have Stiefel, Cushman and Wakefield, Charlene's Houses, MDP Insurance, Xenon Paddle, Ripple Branding, M4 Paddle, SCM, Skill Capital Management, Baltimore Padel, Larendale Club, Willpower PT, and the Seed School of Maryland. Thank you all for being a part of this great event. Couldn't be done without you. Also, a big thank you, Patty, to Sam Byram and Mike Cochran for their efforts in organizing and putting this together.
In the pink top on your side, that's Macy Elliott. Her partner in the black and white, Lisa Lalic. Far side, juice court, pink sneakers, B. Lopez. Far side, ad court, white sneakers, AFP. You know, the heavy overhead that Lalic can hit, Dave. I'm going to go out on a line and say maybe the best in the women's game in terms of the damage it can do because of her
Yeah, no,
height.
she's got a, you know, she can vary this. She does a good job of varying the speed. She varies the spin. She's got a really good roller. She disguises it well by adding pace, taking pace off. But the one thing, you know, that I think makes Lalic's overheads really good is just she's very calm and patient when she hits them. She's not excited. She's not reaching. She's not chasing the ball.
Dave, besides this great event going on in Baltimore, Maryland, we've got the Brew City Open going on today, and we've got the Rochester Open going on. So no matter what part of the country in, there's live paddle action somewhere.
A big week of platform tennis throughout America.
That was a pretty awkward swing from Elliott. Lalic didn't want to get out of the way on that one. Wow. See, I just think that overhead is a dominant shot, Dave.
Yeah, no, and she's been hitting the hard one a little bit more as this match has been going on. But again, you can't jump the gun and start running to play for the fast overhead because she has the skill and the patience that she hits that slow roller, and then, you know, now the ball's stuck behind you.
So what you're talking about when, like, here's Lopez, and she knows Lalic is coming at her. She can't cheat to play that ball off the back screen because Lalic is good enough that if she sees Lopez make a move that way, she can just hold the shot,
Right,
wait
take
longer,
the pace off it.
and change the shot altogether.
Yeah.
Another reason to develop overhead variety, Dave. I don't know. Right now in this match, I'd like to see Elliott switch places and let Lalic just keep hitting some overheads. I don't think they've solved that. Lopez and Pejic haven't solved that overhead yet.
I think the other thing, do you think possibly when Macy Elliott's hitting the overheads, do you think it's a little bit more predictable than when Lalic is hitting the overheads?
For sure. And I think that, Dave, that's a function of the height of Lalic. Because I'm looking at it and saying, why is it so phenomenal, and how is it limiting Pejic and Lopez? Because she really's got this window that goes really high, where she can contact the ball or she lets it drop like 4 more feet. My window of opportunity, Dave, is limited to about 1.5 feet.
What a get by Lopez there when Lalic gave the big windup and took all the pace off that overhead.
And the thing is, I love Elliott's overhead variety, Dave. I just feel like Lalic does the same thing, but just with more power and
Right.
more heavier spin.
No, in that point, you know, Lopez and Page kind of got themselves out of trouble. But I do think Macy Elliott, I mean, hit a lot of amazing overheads. You know, different variety, different speed, different spins. Yeah, that was a pretty good point by all four players.
Lopez, love that shot, and involved the crowd there, Dave. And that's the thing, I referred to the footwork of Lopez and Page, and theirs. Because of that, they can come up with unbelievable gets, and that was just a phenomenal shot.
Yeah, they've won a few points, Patty. Not only have they extended the point, but they've won points on gets where most people wouldn't have even gotten the ball back in play.
I was just thinking that 90% of the women's teams in the country would not be able to come up with the gets that they can come up with.
No, and they've won about 3 or 4 points like that today.
Yep, and I think when you're Lalic and you're hitting it, you're like, all right, I got to hit it harder. But she's playing against two of the few women who can defend that because of their amazing speed and footwork. And we're at 3-all, second set, semifinals. Winner to play Morgan Lopez later on this afternoon, slated for a 5 p.m. start time.
Patty, I think this is a really big game if you're Elliott Lalic. You were up 3-1. It's now 3-3. The momentum is swinging after that big long point to Lopez and Page. And
Dave, the other thing I was thinking about when going back to that shot Lopez ran down, she won mixed nationals with Alvi Regalado 2 years ago out of that deuce court. And no matter how many balls are hit her way, I feel like she's the type of player that embraces it. So even if 9 of 10 shots are coming her way, it doesn't mentally bum her out at all. In fact, she thrives on it.
well, I mean, if you look at sports history, Michael Jordan will be the first to tell you that, for the last shot of every game, he wants the ball. So I think the better high-level players, they embrace getting the ball hit to them or being the last hitter in the bottom of the ninth or the closer on the baseball team. I think, your great players, they embrace the challenge of being the one. They have confidence in themselves that they want the ball.
Dave, earlier you said that you thought Elliott needed to apply a little bit more pressure with her returns. You still feel that way?
I do. Honestly, I don't know if she's driven a return a serve. It seems like she's given Page and Lopez the ability to put the ball into that side screen, and she's content with just throwing up a lob and starting the point, which is good, but I don't know if she's really hit enough of them to not be confident in the return to serve drive.
Maybe she's thinking she's playing with a human forehand and backhand over there with Lalic, and that it doesn't matter. But I do think like you. I want her to.
Like even this, I don't
take
even
a shot.
understand. I don't understand why Lopez and Page are going to, why they're going to a different formation when.
Right, why would they go Australian when Macy's just lobbing?
Right, the only thing I can think of is to get Page on
Yeah.
the top right side of your screen to be hitting more of the overheads.
I think that's exactly why they're doing it. I think that's the only reason why she would do it. I think Paige loves being in that left position, the two of them, the left of Lopez,
Game.
when they're facing the net.
Lalic. Elliott Lalic lead 4 games to 3 in the second set. Lopez Page won the first set, 6 games to 3.
And I think, again, Patty, I think that was a really big game for Elliott and Lalic. You know, one of the things that right now, you know, at the end of the game to make it 3-all, the crowd was starting to get involved. There was a big point. The crowd got a little loud and, you know, really into the match. And winning that game sort of settled everything down. And they did it pretty, you know, methodical, putting the ball, keeping balls in play, hitting the right shots. And so I really think that was a big game for Elliott and Lalic. And I think that game right there could be the reason they could win this set.
15 love.
And that's the power of Paige right there. She just unloaded on that ball, and all Elliott could do is try to duck and not get hit.
I got it. Okay.
Dave, thanks to our graphics from Fueled by Court Director, look at this hot streak Elliott and Lalic have going. They won 5 of the last 6 points. So we talk about the net team and the importance of having a plan. You have an overhead, you know, you have your team with the shots you're going to hit, and you can see it crystal clear from Paige and Lopez. They always switch. Lopez is the player to the right, handling more of the volleys. If it's a tweener, it's her responsibility if it's a drive, and the lob goes up, and you can see, even though the lob came out of that deuce court, Dave, automatically Paige dropped back to cover the overhead. You didn't see a monster shift and, you know, a diagonal with the player at the net, player to the left tucking on top of the net. Because the problem with most levels of players is then you can't back up to cover that next ball. So you can see Paige and Lopez, I think they are so efficient with their net play because of their, you know, they play roles and they stay disciplined within those roles most of the time. And the only time they get in trouble in matches is if they forget kind of those roles and they end up standing around versus doing a little bit of shifting and, you know, effectively communicating, making an early call who's going to hit the next ball.
All right, Patty, we see here we have a couple of break points for Lopez and Paige.
Lopez Page tied 4 games all, second set.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a quick game for Elliott Lalic. I thought they maybe tried to force play just a little bit in that game, and they haven't been doing that.
Lalic found herself over in that ad court. I think that's like her natural court, Dave, that I think she likes to be over there. And sometimes when you get to the spot you want to be, she got the look she wanted and she just pulled the trigger. But you also have to remember you got to play the score. And Lopez Page won that first set 6-3. And all of a sudden that error on a game point makes 4-all second set.
And again, we talked about
Page to serve.
We talked about the stat earlier of, you know, Elliott and Lalic winning 5 out of 6 points. But then now, you know, I'd be interested to see how many points in a row Lopez and Page have won.
How about that one, Dave?
Yeah, here we go.
13 out of the last 21 points. I would say things are trending their way. Dave, you're so good to keep those stats and post them for the viewers at home.
It keeps me sharp. It keeps me thinking.
Elliott made a great move in there, recognized it was an opportunity, and really good hands play to kind of get it into a very awkward spot, and she couldn't come up with that play.
No, come on. Great eye.
20-15.
What?
Patty, what do you think about? Would you like to see Lalic and Elliott switch at the net?
I do. I wanted to. I actually thought they were onto something with Lalic playing in that left position of the two, and I think her overhead was not. You know, she won some points off of it, and they're not winning points off of that Elliott one, the Elliott overhead. So I would like to see her, I think, get in that
And-
position just a little bit more against these two.
And Patty, I think it's fair to say Elliott is hitting a lot of really good overheads. She's changing the speed, she's changing the spin, but for some reason, they're not as effective against Lopez and Page as the Lalic overhead is.
Yep, she just brings
You know, it's
much
not like
more bite to it.
it's not like Elliott's just blooping the ball back and hitting vanilla side back screens. She's putting spin. She's hitting them hard. She's hitting them slow. They're, you know, maybe Lopez and Page from playing against Macy, you know, so many times. Maybe they're used to it, where Lalic is a little bit more of a newer. They haven't seen it as much.
That's a good point. What a lob. What a lob right there, Dave. She set it up because she pulled the trigger on the drive, had the player in, and then throw it the lob. Playing a top 10 lob, you don't see that often in platform tennis.
I was going to say, that was a fake drive top spin lob.
Yeah, I've seen one in 5 years. That was it. Like we said, you know, Lalic played on the Women's Pro Tour, Dave. The heaviness, the ball that she hits, just she's got such effortless power.
An overrule there by chair umpire Jack Taylor.
Page lead 5 games to 4 in the second set. Lopez Page won the first set 6 games to 3.
Dave, I referenced the amazing backgrounds that all these 4 women have in their, you know, from their tennis pedigree and all of that. And I don't know if you knew that when B was 10 and under, she was a national championship. She was a national champion in Spain. Name the other player on the Pro Tour who was also the 10 and under Spanish national champion that year.
Ooh, let's see. Martin Bostrom is from Sweden.
Did you
Louis
look at
Vauclair.
Dave, did you look at your text? I
I
sent you the
did.
answer.
I did. I'm trying to build up some drama.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't.
Um,
Martin's from Stockholm. Come on.
I was going to say he's not from Spain. Louis from France. Miker is from Croatia, from
Answer that
Estonia.
freaking question, Dave.
How about Alvi Regalado?
Nice, Dave. It's good we can crack ourselves up. Yeah, Macy's going to look back and not like that volley. Again, just that Page dominant on that return of serve. Lalic just not confident coming in behind her own serve. What a close from Lalic. Again, awesome spin to overhead from Elliott. Just these guys are coming up with it. Incredible.
Patty, regardless of the outcome, which, Lopez and Page have a match point here, but, their effort cannot be questioned. I mean, they've made some amazing gets throughout this match.
Yeah, what an entertaining and high level play. Love it. There it is, Dave. Like I said, that would win the point against 95% of the players on the court. But not be Lopez.
No, and she got to it pretty simply. What a volley there. Good volley
Yeah,
behind
love it.
Lalic.
So Dave, how about these stats? Thanks to court director for these stats. Want to go through it real fast?
Yeah, total points, 56% to Lopez and Page. I mean, obvious from a 6-3, 6-4 victory.
Dave,
You
real
know,
fast. Don't go
but
anywhere. Roger Federer, one of the greatest players of all time in tennis. Did you ever hear about what percent of the points he won when he played? Did you ever
Yeah,
hear
and
that stat?
Yeah, it's like, what, 53% of the points or 52?
Exactly the same percentage as Lopez Page.
Yeah, no, entertaining match. Great played by all four players. Couple points here and there made the difference. And, yeah, that was a great match.
All right, so Dave, that's a wrap from the women's semifinals. We will return for, we've got men's semifinal action coming up. Then we have the women's finals, 5 o'clock.
At Corient, wealth management begins and ends